Hello and welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to take a deep dive into race results of the 2023 Australian Grand Prix. This year's race was one of the most exciting in recent memory, with plenty of drama and surprises throughout the weekend. As the sun shone down on race day, it was a stark contrast to the mixed conditions seen in practice and qualifying. With the track dry, teams opted for slick tires and a one-stop strategy was deemed the quickest option, as long as there were no incidents or safety car periods. However, there was a change to the grid just before the race, as Red Bull Sergio Perez and Mercedes Valtteri Bottas swapped their starting slots for the pit lane. Both drivers had made various car changes under parc fermé conditions. As the race began in front of a full house in Australia, the drivers were split in their tire strategies, with most opting for the medium compound, while a few, including the Alpines and Alfa Romeos, went for softs. De Vries, Sargent and Perez, on the other hand, had hard tires fitted for a longer first stint. The start of the race saw a lot of action, with Russell getting a good start and making a move on Verstappen into turn 1, using his late braking and car positioning to take the lead. Meanwhile, Verstappen came under attack from Hamilton, who passed him at turn 3 to make it a Mercedes 1-2. Verstappen was not pleased with the move and radioed his team to complain that Hamilton pushed him off the track. As for the cars behind, the Ferraris and Aston Martins fought wheel-to-wheel into turn 3, with Stroll and Leclerc making contact under braking, causing Leclerc to retire from the race after going into the gravel trap. A quick review by the stewards found no further action was necessary. As the safety car was deployed, the pit lane was swarmed with drivers eager to change their tires for an early advantage. Ocon, Zhou and Bottas opted for hard compounds, while Sargent and Perez went for mediums. When racing resumed on lap 3, Russell managed to hold his lead, followed by Hamilton, Verstappen, Sainz, Alonso and the impressive Albon. But the excitement was short-lived, as Russell crashed into the barriers at turn 7 just 3 laps later, prompting yet another safety car. It was a tense moment for Russell, who was leading the race and facing a strong challenge from Hamilton. In the midst of this pressure, he radioed Mercedes with frustration, letting them know that he was being asked to manage his car while simultaneously being attacked by Hamilton. However, just as the competition was heating up, the safety car was deployed due to Albon's accident. Russell saw this as an opportunity to make a strategic move, and he quickly made his way to the pits to swap out his soft tires for hards. This decision was mirrored by Sainz, who was also hoping to gain an advantage from the accident. With the race temporarily paused, all eyes were on Russell and Sainz to see how this tactical move would play out in the coming laps. As the red flag halted the action on track, Hamilton found himself in a favorable position, leading the race ahead of Verstappen, Alonso, Stroll and Gasly. The stoppage provided a crucial opportunity for all drivers to return to the pit lane and change their tires, with the Mercedes driver looking to make the most of the situation. As the drivers prepared to resume racing, tension mounted, and a thrilling restart was on the cards. As the action resumed, drivers like Hülkenberg, Russell, Tsunoda, Norris and Piastri battled hard to make their way up to the grid. On the other hand, Leclerc and Albon were forced to watch from the sidelines, their hopes of a strong finish dashed by the earlier incidents. Despite their disappointment, they remained unharmed. Further down the grid, Ocon and De Vries made contact, causing the rookie driver to go airborne briefly, but both managed to continue without retiring. Russell overtook Gasly for 4th place with an impressive move, while Verstappen closed in on Hamilton and reclaimed the lead on the back straight. Russell's luck took a turn for the worse, as he suffered a mechanical failure and was forced to retire, triggering a virtual safety car. Verstappen stretched his lead to 3 seconds, determined to secure his first Australian Grand Prix win, while Hamilton tried to keep pace. Despite investigations into the restart procedure and the Ocon-De Vries collision, no further action was taken. The action-packed race continued as the debris from Russell's car was cleared, and Verstappen regained his position in 1st place, leading the race ahead of Hamilton with a slightly reduced margin of only 2.5 seconds. Alonso held on to his 3rd place, while Gasly, Sainz, Stroll, Hülkenberg, Norris, Tsunoda and Piastri battled fiercely for the remaining positions in the top 10. Meanwhile, Verstappen's teammate Perez showed his incredible skill as he charged forward from P11, overtaking his opponents one by one to secure his place in the points. After an impressive move on Piastri, he found himself knocking on the door of the top 10 and soon made his way into the points with an impressive overtake on Tsunoda. As the race approached its halfway mark, Hamilton began to express concern over whether his hard tires would last until the end, while Verstappen continued to dominate the race and extend his lead with a string of fastest laps. Meanwhile, further back in the pack, Sainz executed a clever move to overtake Gasly and secure P4. He pulled off a feint to the left before switching to the right just in time for turn 3. Unfortunately, Tsunoda lost his position in the points, dropping behind both Ocon and Piastri. On lap 31, Verstappen's lead over Hamilton grew to more than 8 seconds, but the battle for P2 remained tightly contested. Alonso kept his Aston Martin with striking distance of the Mercedes, while Sainz continued his impressive charge up the field, overtaking both Gasly and Stroll along the way. The tension was palpable, as Hamilton was given some strategic advice to not fall for Alonso's attempts to pressure him into using his tires. Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, was skeptical about whether Alonso was on the same strategy as him, questioning his team's decision. Meanwhile, Verstappen's lead continued to grow, stretching to a considerable 10-second margin by lap 41, putting him in a commanding position to take the win. In the other Red Bull, Perez had a tough time overtaking Norris, but eventually succeeded with the help of DRS down the back straight. He then swiftly passed Hülkenberg into turn 11, who then fell behind Norris as well. During the closing stages of the race, Verstappen suffered a lock-up into turn 13, causing him to run across the grass and reducing his lead over Hamilton to 7.5 seconds. The late jeopardy increased when Magnussen hit the wall exiting turn 2, which brought out a safety car and later a red flag to clear the debris from the track. The race restarted for a 2-lap shootout, with Verstappen defending his lead from Hamilton. However, chaos ensued when Sainz sent Alonso in a spin, causing other drivers to take evasive action. Gasly slipped across the grass and collected teammate Ocon, knocking both drivers out of the race. Sargent hit the fry, Perez went off at turn 1 and fell back, and Stroll outbraked himself into turn 3 and took a trip through the gravel. The red flag was shown again to clean up the mess, and the safety car led the field around one more time to officially end the race. Verstappen took the win, followed by Hamilton, Alonso, Stroll, Perez and Norris, with Sainz's penalty dropping him to P12. Hülkenberg managed to finish 7th, while Piastri secured a double points finish for McLaren on their home soil. Zhou and Tsunoda also earned points, with Bottas and Sainz being the final finishers of the day, as several drivers, including Gasly, Ocon, De Vries, Sargent, Magnussen, Russell, Albon and Leclerc, were forced to retire. Formula 1 fans will have to wait for almost a month before the next race, as the teams and drivers take a much-needed break to recharge and prepare for the next round. The highly anticipated Azerbaijan Grand Prix is up next on the calendar, which will be held at the Baku City Circuit from April 28th to 30th. This race is said to be even more exciting, as it will be the first appearance of the sprint format for the season. Get ready for another exhilarating and action-packed race in the heart of Baku.